What's going on, all you wild ghouls? Your two favorite John Carpenter enthusiasts are back here for Cinephellas. We're doing more 31 Days of Horror. And tonight we're going to be diving into one of my favorite John Carpenter movies, number 2 on my list currently. A movie that came out in 1980. It's a star-studded lineup with everybody in the John Carpenter universe in this film. But this is John Carpenter and Deborah Hill 2 years after Halloween came out. Their follow-up, a cool and really spooky ghost story, The Fog.
The Fog.
John Carpenter's The Fog, starring Adrienne Barbeau, Jamie Lee Curtis, John Houseman, Janet Leigh as Kathy Williams, and Hal Holbrook as Father Malone. The Fog. What you can't see won't hurt you. It will kill you. Between midnight and 1, it will find you.
So the story starts off with an old man telling a ghost story on the ocean about Antonio Bay, and basically it's 100 years since the ship sank in its waters in Antonio Bay. So it's a celebration, but he's basically telling the story how it all started, and it's spooky, really cool, setup for the film. It reminded me of being a young kid hearing ghost stories around the campfire. An old person, a grandparent would tell you just, to scare the shit out of you. And that's basically the setup. We're introduced to all the characters.
Fog, just like the title suggests, this movie is very atmospheric. That's one thing that I noticed right away. This movie has a special mood to it, perfect for this Halloween season. And it was great to revisit this on 4K. Me and this guy both got the Steelbook that was released recently. And, what a treat to watch this on the Halloween season, to revisit this movie. It was probably actually the third time I've seen this movie. And every time I watch it, I'm like, man, this is really good. And this was, like you mentioned, John Carpenter's next movie after Halloween. You can see he got a bigger budget for this and a really cool story, and seeing all the fog roll up from the bay, very creepy atmosphere. Then we have all the actors and actresses, like you mentioned. I think the DJ there, Stevie.
Adrienne Barbeau. We got
Adrienne Barbeau. Yep.
Jamie Lee Curtis, Janet Leigh's in this. John Houseman, he was the famous English actor in the beginning part, talking about Antonio Bay, 100 years. Tom Atkins, Uncle Tom Atkins is in this. Nick Castle.
Drunk driving.
He plays Nick Castle, which we all know is the actor that played Michael Myers, the Shape, in the first film.
Yes.
James Canning. Charles Cyphers is in this from Halloween.
Nancy Loomis.
Nancy Loomis is in this. Hal Holbrook. The list goes on. And the people behind the camera, obviously you had Deborah Hill, but you had Tommy Lee Wallace. Tommy Lee Wallace, yep, exactly. And then we had Dean Cundy returning as well before his career really blew up. But it's, basically a lot of people, production from Halloween into this movie. And this is the follow-up, a really great and spooky ghost story. Basically the fog rolls in and these ghosts of pirates come through and start killing people. And they really bring more practical effects, more killing into the 1980s. So there's more blood and guts compared, to Halloween. They really up the ante with this, and some really great and horrific scenes.
Yeah, I love the way this was filmed here in this fictional town of Antonio Bay, bringing the whole, pirate lore and making it spooky, really, which this film really does. It really does a great job. It also incorporates religion with Hal Holbrook's character being a priest there. With the artwork behind you, you can see, that's in the conclusion there when they come through the church. Some really awesome scenes, some really great jump scares too. This John Carpenter basically created a lot of this stuff. He's the OG, horror director, we'll say. And in this, some really great scares, some really creepy things that he's able to do. I love the way he uses, trickery with the camera and does a lot of innovative things. And a lot of these things were being seen for the very first time when this movie came out back in 1980 when it came out. So, and I loved how he was always loyal to his actors, bringing back all the people that we mentioned from Halloween, and he'd work with them throughout his career. But this being his second movie, I'm just blown away by that, just how well it was put together. That he had the success of Halloween being like his first big film, but this being his second film, he could have went in so many different directions, but his camera, his, eye for the lens and what he puts on the screen is just amazing. I love his directing, and The Fog, truly terrifying and an awesome movie to watch during the 31 Days of Horror.
Antonio Bay is just like another character in this movie. It's a whole
Absolutely.
sea setting, with the lighthouse. It's where Stevie Wayne, Adrienne Barbeau has the radio show, and she's like kind of broadcasts everything going on with the fog coming into the town, and everybody's listening. And so, she lives out of there. She owns a radio station. She's the voice of everything going on here. And as the fog rolls in, the ghost pirates show up and start killing people. And she's, eventually everybody's on the run from these. They're trying to get away from this, and the fog keeps rolling in, trying to stop it, and really sets up some really, on the edge of your seat scenes in this movie, and really some great practical effects. I think Tommy Lee Wallace played this pirate behind me.
Awesome.
One of them, with
cool.
the red eyes at the end, with Father Malone, you're talking about earlier with the church. But yeah, a lot of really great, memorable scenes in this film. And yeah, this movie doesn't get enough love as it should. I rewatched it for the first time a few years ago, and I'm just like, wow, this movie's incredible. Beautiful cinematography, great ensemble of characters here, and just a lot of memorable scenes, great practical effects, very spooky. And I thought it was really original, but also pays homage to a lot of old ghost stories you hear as a kid.
Absolutely. Another thing that we need to mention to go along with the atmosphere created, of course, John Carpenter's score.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, awesome. I love the way he uses synth, his synthesizer work and his keyboard work. The scores on his movies are awesome, and this one's really awesome. It really goes with what's going on screen, really sets the atmosphere with the fog rolling in, and sounds awesome. I love the soundtrack.
I love that scene with Adrienne Barbeau driving her car on the coast.
Yes.
The road, the winding road and the ocean. Yeah. And he's like, "Bee-doo-doo." I just love the score in that scene. It really sets it up. Just kind of on the go and trying to, piece out, everything together. Her young son finds this old like gold coin on the beach, turns into a piece of wood that starts on fire. And she's really trying to play detective here and figure out what the hell's going on here, all having to do with Antonio Bay, 100-year, celebration as to what happened back in the day and why they're coming back, as ghosts in this fog and what they're trying to accomplish.
You said it. There's so much to love about this film. It flies by too. I think it's probably about an hour and a half or so. But yeah, there's a lot to love in this film. It's one of the underrated, classics of John Carpenter's for sure. I'm going to put The Thing ahead of this, but this would probably be number 3 for me. Off the top of my head, I'd put it at 3 for sure. One of the timeless classics, and so much to love, so much to appreciate of John Carpenter's work, and all these young actors at the time, minus Hal Holbrook, who was the oldest in the cast and back then, but he obviously acted until, he finally passed away recently. But hell of a cast, hell of a movie. I loved watching this, and I'm glad I grabbed it on 4K and Steelbook. And you guys, I highly recommend that you guys pick it up too. Some awesome artwork, the same artwork that's behind Logan there.
Absolutely. This is number 2 on my list. Behind Halloween, it used to be The Thing, but The Thing kind of moved back to number 3 for me, because I just love this movie start to finish. I watch it numerous times throughout the year. I just watched it on 4K. Looks beautiful. I love the 4K scan of this. Really pops out at you. The sequences like at the beach, and then at night with the fog, it's really dark, and you can see, the fog coming through in the background, and then pirates popping out with the backlighting and everything. It just looks really good. And it's some good jump scares, it brings some horror and some spookiness to it, but just really a great movie that I love watching. It's a movie I highly recommend.
The Fog, John Carpenter's classic. I am going to give a 4 out of 5 Deborah Hill hairpieces.
And with this being one of my favorite Carpenter films, I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 Father Malone hairpieces.
What did you guys think of The Fog? Have you guys even seen The Fog? It's an underrated classic. If you haven't, make sure to check it out this Halloween season. It's one of me and Logan's favorite Halloween movies and one of our favorite John Carpenter movies. So much to love. The score, the atmosphere, everything on screen. It's magnificent, and one of the underrated horror movies of all time for sure. Thank you guys so much for following along with us this 31 Days of Horror. If you guys haven't already, make sure to click, like, comment, and subscribe to the Cinephellas. The whole year we do this, but in October, the 31 Days of Horror, that's our bread and butter. Every year we come back with, all month long with new videos, new giveaways. Thank you guys so much for watching our review of John Carpenter's The Fog. So until next time, we're signing out from Antonio Bay Michael Bay is actually coming in, so we got to get out of here. Till next time. Cheers.